Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 13 of the Vuelta a España, brought to you by Lupine Lights. Lupine Lights I've been riding since 2019, the finest set of bike lights I've ever used throughout my career. With the ability to use the app on your phone to be able to adjust the dimness and the brightness of your lights, and of course Bluetooth connectivity, Lupine Lights got you covered if you're riding in the dark and you need to see good. Make sure you use the code LupineLights24 if you're looking to save 24% on your next order. And that discount code is going to end on September 9th, so make sure you get to Lupine Lights real soon. Now, let's get into today's Stage 13 of the Vuelta a España. We're talking about 175 kilometers. We'll call it 110 miles in length. 4 categorized climbs, and of course the last 2 are the ones you want to pay attention to. But the last one at 7.5 kilometer, 9%, means this is going to be a GC battle. There is no doubt about it. Once you start going up to 9% average, you know there's going to be a battle because Primoz Roglic needs to make up time on Ben O'Connor. And he's got to start making up time here on stage 13. This is the perfect stage. Now, when you went to bed last night, you probably thought, like I did, that there's a good chance that a breakaway is going to go too. So when the cameras come on at about 100 kilometers ago, we see 3 riders. It's Wout van Aert up there. Jay Vine is up there, and the Solarism is up there. We got 3 riders going full gas. They're coming up to the KOM, but before we get there, we see a bunch of guys chasing, 20-plus riders back there chasing, and the peloton's further back. How much further back? I don't know yet. But once they go over the top of the KOM, where Wout van Aert wins maximum KOM points and takes the lead in the KOM jersey, he's wearing the green jersey, sprint jersey right now. So this is quite an accomplishment here for the Belgian rider from Visma Bike. But we go back and look at the peloton, who's riding the front. AG2R is on the front, but the gap is way up there. This gap's going to go all the way up to 17 minutes when it's said and done. It's at 14 or 15. I can't even remember right now at this moment, but it's big. So AG2R are having a cruise ride right now on stage 13. We go back up to the front with about 85 kilometers to go. We see the 3 riders caught from the 20. That means we got 23 riders in the front group. Brandon McNulty, Jay Vine, and the Solarism. With those 3 riders up there, then we start looking at a few of the other teams. Lotto Destiny has 2 because my man Victor Campenaerts is one of them. So he's up there. Albacete de Koenig have their sprinter, Caden Groves, up there. And when we start looking at some of the other teams, we got 3 DSM riders up there. So we got multiple teams with multiple riders. That means that this group should be able to stay away and at 15-minute gap on the peloton. We know that's said and done. These guys are racing for the stage win. There's no doubt about it. So we start getting into 45 kilometers to go. Wout van Aert, my man Victor Campenaerts start throwing an attack. They got 2 riders for company. Now we start seeing what's happening here as UAE team members are drilling it. It's blowing up in the back of this breakaway here of 23 riders as we see bodies going all over the place trying to catch up there to Wout van Aert and Victor Campenaerts. And as we see UAE team members come around the right bend there, they got 3 there, and Michael Woods, he's in this front group too. Then we start seeing some other guys bridging up from the back as Sam Omen's back there. Hess Limrays from DSM is going to be the last rider to bridge across. So we got 9 riders in this front group. But it's not going to stay this way because UAE team members are on a mission. They're throwing in attacks all over the place. When we go back, we see Movistar setting tempo with about 34 kilometers to go. When we come back up to this group of 9, Soler's swinging off the back there. He's got a gap going down this descent. He's going to keep chasing like crazy, and eventually he's going to get back on. But we're going to come into the sprint line competition where Wout van Aert's going to get maximum points in the green jersey too. After that, we start the next climb, and we see that Soler bridges back on. Now, this group's getting reduced down to about 8 riders right now, because if I take you back, it was Casper Asgreen from Soudal Quickstep that got dropped earlier. So with these 8 riders, there's still more attacks happening all over the place from UAE team members, and a lot of time it's Wout van Aert bringing this group back. We get up to 20 kilometers to go. Wout van Aert throws in an attack. He's got Jay Vine on his wheel, and then Jay Vine's looking back over his shoulder because he's getting popped right now from the big guy from Visma Bike. Visma Bike's Wout van Aert goes up to the top of the KOM. He grabs maximum points, and then he sits up. As he sits up, we go down the descent, and then you look, as we're coming through this right turn here, it's going to get messy right now for Brandon McNulty as he loses the front end. From what I can tell, the picture's a little bit too high from the helicopter, but his bike's sliding out, he's going down, he's going over into the guardrail, and he's going to crash into the guardrail and go straight underneath it. The next rider sitting 4th, that's Jay Vine. Jay Vine's UAE team member. It's the teammate of Brandon McNulty who just got done hitting the guardrail, and Jay Vine goes into the guardrail, hits it kind of hard, but kind of stays up a little bit on his bike. He doesn't quite go down to the ground. And then we see back there, it's the Solarism coming in last. Mark Soler comes through this right turn, sees his teammates there, knows he can't do anything about it right now, so he starts closing the gap up to the 4 riders in front. Up front, we have Wout van Aert up there. Michael Woods has made the split. Sam Omen is up there. And Schmid, Mario Schmid from Jaco Lula is in there. Once Soler gets up there, we got 5 guys. The cameras go back and show us again of Brandon McNulty climbing up out of the bushes there. We see his director sportif looking after him. If I back the film up just a hair, Jay Vine was the first to walk across the street there, limping a bit, gets on a bike and gets going. Then the cameras focus again on Brandon McNulty as Brandon McNulty jumps on his bike and continues to stage 13. Both riders will finish the stage, but Brandon McNulty will wave off the medical car there, so we hope he's okay. Certainly scratches and bruises all over the place, but at this moment, both riders seem like they're going to be okay, but it's a hard stage 13 for UAE team members. Now we got 5 riders in the front group, and all 5 guys are rotating through. This has changed the chemistry a ton for UAE team members, because before, when they started attacking with 35 kilometers to go and just lighting things up left and right, when I was sitting on the Chesterfield, I was thinking, wow, they must not have much faith in Brandon McNulty and Jay Vine here on stage 13, because the whole reason they'd be attacking is trying to get a gap, possibly on Michael Woods, or possibly they're worried about Wout van Aert. But with both Brandon McNulty and Jay Vine out, Soler now is forced to rotating through with these 4 riders up front, and they're going to start the last and final climb with 7.5 kilometers to go. We go back and look at what was happening in the peloton the whole time. It was a sleeper back there at the peloton. Movistar got on the front, as I told you, with about 35 kilometers to go. They rode up the 3rd category climb right in the front. I assume setting some tempo. It's a wise choice right now. You want to start trying to bring some speed in the peloton there so that Ben O'Connor's legs maybe hurt a little bit more when you hit the last climb with 7.5 kilometers to go. Cameras will go back up to the front breakaway, and we see Mario Schmid throwing in attack for Jaco Lula. As he throws in attack, it's blowing up at the back. We see Wout van Aert and Soler back there. In front of him is going to be Sam Omen. And once we go back up to the front, we see Michael Woods throwing in attack right away at the beginning of this climb. After Schmid finished his, Michael Woods throws in his attack, and he's got a gap on Mario Schmid. We start looking further down the climb there with the breakaway guys, and Wout van Aert's pulled the plug. He's calling it a day here on stage 13. He's going to set his own tempo, but Soler is still going. Soler is going to start picking off Sam Omen. He's going to start finding his way to the back of Mario Schmid's wheel, but we see Michael Woods. He's going full gas because he knows he can win stage 13 here at the Vuelta a España. He is a very good climber, and now he's starting to show you and remind you about that Tour de France win he had last year. Now we start going down to the bottom of the hill. Remember, these guys are 15, 14 minutes back from the 5 riders that started this climb, and this is the beginning of the climb for the professional peloton here on stage 13. As they arrive into this climb, of course, we see Bora Hansgrohe at the front. Pseudo Quick Steps at the front. We start looking over to the right side of the road, left of your screen. EF Education's there, and Ben O'Connor with his AG2R teammates are sitting in the 2nd row. As Bora Hansgrohe's throwing full gas into the train there, it's Roger Adria that's at the front. We look behind him. That's going to be Danny Martinez. Behind him, that's Vlasov. Then it's Primoz Roglic, and then Lipovic sitting 5th wheel as Bora Hansgrohe have full control of the peloton at this moment. Now they're starting to drill it. Roger will pull off, and it's time for Danny Martinez to go to work. Once Danny Martinez starts setting tempo on the front there, we start seeing some explosions at the back of the peloton. They were blowing up from first kilometer up this climb. But now we're seeing favorites back there as we see Yates is getting dropped back there, and just a little bit up in front of Yates, Ben O'Connor's at the back of the peloton there. He's suffering big time. We go up a little bit further. Ben O'Connor's getting popped, and we see Danny Martinez is pulled off the front of the peloton. He's hopping on the radio right now telling his main guy here, Primoz Roglic, that he sees Ben O'Connor and there's a gap to him. So that means Bora Hansgrohe's going full gas. When the cameras come back up to the front, we see it's Primoz Roglic on the front. He's going full gas. And then to the left of the road there, we see Vlasov has blown. Vlasov has blown so hard, the spectator there has to keep him upright on his bike as he's giving him a little nudge. This is okay by me. This is not cheating. He's just trying to keep the guy from crashing because Primoz Roglic is now going to work. He's got Moss directly on his wheel. Lipovic is there. And we see Sepp Kuss, the American from Visma bikes, locked on too. We look a little further back, we see Mikel Landa is in the picture. Mikel Landa will fight his way to start coming back up to this group. And then when we start looking at the back of the group here, once we get the view from behind, we see Ben O'Connor's having all kinds of problems. But he does have his teammate Felix Gall there. Felix Gall looks like he's got good legs, but Ben O'Connor doesn't have legs at this moment. He's losing time up there to Primoz Roglic. Roglic's going to mess around a little bit with his computer, and then he's going to start getting on the pedals and start setting some tempo. Moss is locked on. Lipovitz is starting to have some problems. Sepp Kuss is still there. Mikel Landa's always in and around the picture, but it's hard to say exactly where he's at because he's kind of up a little bit, fading a little bit, up a little bit, but he does find his way back up to Primoz Roglic. Now we go up to the front with 300 meters to go right now because remember the break is 13 minutes up the road. So we see it's Michael Woods rounding the bend here with about 500 meters to go. He'll go through the last 3 curves here. He's at 300, then he's coming into the finish. He's going to sit up. He's going to pull his Canadian National Championship jersey down there with the maple leaf, and he's going to cross the line victorious here at the Vuelta a España on stage 13. His 3rd victory here at the Vuelta a España and his 4th of the Grand Tours, because like I told you earlier, he won a stage of the Tour de France, an uphill finish, much like today's stage here at the Vuelta a España. Now with Woods coming across first, we got to see who's second, right? Well, we know second is Mario Schmidt. Soler did a great job of coming up and doing damage control and getting back up to Schmidt, but Schmidt has dislodged there the UAE Team Emirates rider. He crosses second, and then we see Marc Soler come up here to get 3rd. Now, if I back the film up multiple times for you, Soler was off the back of the group many times coming down the descents, many times on the flats. He's chasing like crazy. He's attacking like crazy. And here he finishes up the stage to get 3rd. And all I can wonder is, if you added up all those kilometers back there in the wind, could you have won today's stage? Well, I don't know about that because Michael Woods has got some good legs, or decent enough legs to win today's stage 13, that's for sure. He'll celebrate with his team staff there as he crosses the finish line, and then he's going to be up on the podium, of course, to celebrate a fantastic victory. Now, what's happening down with the GC favorites? Well, we got to go back 12 minutes down or 13 minutes down as we see Primoz Roglic. He's still got Moss on his wheel, Landa's there, Sepp Kuss is there, but then Sepp starts to drop. As Sepp starts to drop, we're going to see next rider to drop is going to be Mikel Landa. This is about 2.5 kilometers to go. Then we're going to see Moss starting to drop. As Moss is starting to drop, the cameras go back down and find Ben O'Connor with about 2 kilometers to go. Ben O'Connor has been left by his teammate Felix Gall from AG2R. At this moment, I'm 50-50 on this ideal because Felix Gall right now, he's sitting 8th on the general classification, but the red race leader's jersey, he's losing time and he's on his own. With Felix Gall and AG2R deciding that they're going to send him up the road, I can only assume they want to keep 2 guys at the top 10 of the general classification. We can see right now at this moment with Ben O'Connor having some bad legs on multiple mountain stages that Primoz Roglic is flying up in this front group going solo right now, gaining some massive time on Ben O'Connor, who's about 120, 130 down on the time of Primoz Roglic up front. Primoz Roglic now flying on the pedals. He knows he's got no traffic stuck to his back wheel, so he's got no reason to hold back as he's throwing everything into it. We look further back. It's Carapaz. Richard Carapaz had gotten dropped early on this climb, and he's catching up to the back wheel of Enric Mas. Mas is blown up spectacularly now, and we see Landa has bridged up to his teammate that was in the break. That's Asgreen up there. As Asgreen, Casper Asgreen's waited for his teammate of Mikel Landa. He's driving it on the front. We look at Mas and Carapaz. They're still losing places back there for Mas. Carapaz is going the other direction, but he can't seem to get rid of Mas, and we got Lipovitz still in front of them. So the top 10 in the general classification is certainly going to start getting mixed up time-wise. We go back up front to Primoz Roglic, throwing in everything in the pedals as he comes around the last bend here, crosses the line. No salute, of course, because the stage victory was 12 minutes up the road. That rider was Michael Woods. We started looking further back. We're going to see Ben O'Connor dropping some massive time right now, and Moss is still dropping time. Now, we start seeing Moss come through the finish line. He's about 55, 58 seconds behind the time of Primoz Roglic, so he's going to lose time to the Slovenian. But where is Ben O'Connor? Ben O'Connor's coming up solo right now. He's going to lose about 1 minute 55 seconds to Primoz Roglic. He'll hold on to the race leader's red jersey here at the Vuelta a España, but only with a 1 minute and 21 second gap to Primoz Roglic when it's all said and done. Moss stays third. Carapaz does a good job of staying fourth on the general classification. Mikel Landa had a solid ride here today. He yo-yoed a little bit back and forward on Primoz Roglic's wheel, but after he did drop, he had his teammate Casper Asgreen look after him fine all the way to the finish. Now, when we start looking at other riders like Lipovitz, he had a solid job to stay in the top 10. And when we look at Carlos Rodriguez from Team Ineos, he started in the race leader's white young jersey here on stage 13. He'll keep that jersey because he stayed in front of Lipovitz, who dropped some later in the stage while Carlos Rodriguez made up some time. So, Carlos Rodriguez keep the white jersey, 6th on the general classification, so he had a good ride after getting dropped early and then just finding his way up through damage control all the way to finish off today's stage 13. Now, when we look at Ben O'Connor's interview, he's talking about realizing that he knows this was a bad day here, but he hopes tomorrow will be a rest day. They still got a big climb to go over on tomorrow's stage, but it's a soft one, 4 or 5%. It's not very complicated. So it probably will be a rest day for the GC favorites. And then Sunday, it's the big mountain stage. Can Primoz Roglic continue his fine form right here on today's stage 13 of the Vuelta a España? Well, he's going to have to continue it on stage 15 because he's not yet in the race leader's red jersey. But Bora Hansgrohe looked strong and Primoz Roglic looked fantastic on today's stage. We might be seeing the Slovenian coming up to some of the top 100% form here after today's stage because this was the first day that Moss suffered big time. Moss lost a lot of places and time-wise to Primoz Roglic, but he's still sitting third on the GC. So like and subscribe. I'll see you guys for tomorrow's stage 14 of the Vuelta a España real soon.